Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. Let's get up to date on the 9.8 comic book market. I got 22 completed listings in a 9.8 to go through. So first one up is an Uncanny X-Men 221, first appearance of Mr. Sinister. Saw a couple direct editions sell in the 9.8 for $435 and $455. Yeah, I think this one, right around $450, it's kind of bouncing around. If it's got like a nice centering and good colors and you're in the market for this one, I think $435, $455 are kind of price targets to aim for a great looking Uncanny X-Men 221 in a 9.8. You might want to consider this one if you're a big Mr. Sinister fan. Uncanny X-Men 239. This is like hands down the coolest Mr. Sinister cover. Just classic Mr. Sinister on this one. Mr. Sinister fans are absolutely targeting this one too. This is one that has trended up nicely over the last few years. One in a 9.8 direct edition selling for $371 in a 9.8. I had mentioned on this one, like, this book is in a 9.8 is pretty much reaching, like, the values of Uncanny X-Men 221. And Uncanny X-Men 221 is missing that really awesome cover, unfortunately, with the first appearance. So 239 becoming collected. I've saw this one go for over 400 before. So I think, yeah, under 400, 371 is a price target to aim for, yeah, for sure, on an Uncanny X-Men 239. Next one's a cool one that I was watching on eBay and kind of hitting myself for maybe not throwing in a bid. SpiderMan #1 in the Polybagged Newsstand edition in a 9.8 white pages. I do like this version of a SpiderMan #1, just a little bit more rare than kind of the normal version and in the newsstand, the Polybagged Newsstand. And I do kind of prefer this one over like the gold and silver edition. But Polybagged Newsstand, SpiderMan #1 9.8, $182.50. Yeah, that's going to be a price target to aim for if you ever thought of wanting this one. I have recommended this one, and you know, in the last year, I remember a few going for kind of $225, I think even up to $250 in this Polybagged Newsstand in a 9.8. So $182.50 is a price target to aim for that one. We've recently talked about this one, a pretty hot comic book, I would say. A Star Wars Darth Vader #6, first appearance of the Grand Inquisitor. A couple of these going on an auction, one for $470 and another for $601.33. So this is one that's really hot. You know, admittedly though, I really want it. I think this has an amazing cover with that big first appearance, and there's some potential with the Grand Inquisitor. I'm pretty sure he's going to be in the Ahsoka show, or maybe it's the Book of Boba Fett. I'm not too sure on that one, but Darth Vader 6, $470, $601.33. I'd probably aim for like 400, maybe a little bit under. Hopefully this one cools down a little bit, but just kind of tough to say, you know, get in there right now on kind of an obscure key issue for $600 is pushing it a little bit right now on a Darth Vader 6, I think, in a 9.8. Okay, next one, I do have an Amazing Spider-Man 238. Saw a direct edition in a 9.8 white pages sell on an auction. And this is a pretty tough one in the 9.8. It's got the tattoos, so a single-digit 9.8 ratio on an Amazing Spider-Man 238. First appearance of Hobgoblin, pretty much the best cover going in this era of Amazing Spider-Man comics. Sold for $2,859. $2,859. Sounds kind of expensive, but this one, sort of a year ago during the hot comic book market kind of deal, this was right around $4,000 in a 9.8. And some of the newsstands were like selling for pretty much well over $5,000 during that period, I remember. So pulling back a little bit, you know, if you're kind of serious about your 9.8s though, this is one to target. And yeah, under $3,000 for like a great looking one, great centering, nice colors. $2,859 is not too bad, yeah, for an Amazing Spider-Man 238. Maybe you can aim a little closer to $2,500 if you know, this one's going to be on the cool down in the next 6 to 12 months. Okay, next one here. Pretty hot comic book, I've noticed. New Avengers #7 with the first appearance of Illuminati. Admittedly, I haven't read this one. I don't know what Illuminati is. I probably should have did a little research this morning, but anyway, sales on this one in a 9.8 white pages for $459, $547, and $400 as well. So kind of a pretty solid range on this one, where I think this one's kind of heating up. So, you know, some people are just happy with getting about $400. Others, a bidding war had kind of erupted in an auction, $547. This is one I would be absolutely patient on. I'm pretty sure the sort of whisper is that Illuminati is going to be in the Doctor Strange movie. Sometimes these villain, you know, first appearances are kind of one and done when they're in a movie, and they really cool down after the movie. So personally, I wouldn't get in there. right now on a new Avengers 7. You know, the lowest selling for $400. I'd probably just wait for this one to cool right down to, you know, closer to 300, maybe even a little bit under, if you were in the market for a new Avengers number 7, first appearance of Illuminati. Really cool to see this next one sell in an auction. It's a Batman Adventures Mad Love in a 9.8 white pages. One I've sort of been like pounding the table. I've made a couple videos on this one saying that this one's undervalued, seeing a few sales that were around like $400, $450. This is a really tough one in a 9.8. I thought at that price, it's just a fantastic value. And you know what? Maybe, you know, some of my feelings about this one being undervalued are true. In an auction, selling for $745. And that's really right around, like I mentioned in one of the videos, I'm like, you know, just based on how tough this is and how cool the cover is and how collectible this is, I see this as, you know, right around $700 to $800, not $400 or $450, which they were at that time. So $745 in an auction is, you know, nice to see for myself. Being, you know, one. This is one I've been recommending as an undervalued one for the last year or so. Okay, next one was one I had on my watch list, and just a couple times I almost wanted to pull the trigger on this one, but it's Batman, the official motion picture adaptation in a 9.8 white pages, but this is not the prestige format or whatever the like ultimate format is. I forget exactly what it's called. I think it's the prestige format. That one's like really common, easy to find. It's like under $100 in the 9.8, but this is just the normal version with a little bit of a different looking cover that's really cool. This is basically the movie adaptation of the Batman movie that came out in 1989. Sold for $200 in a 9.8. I was watching this one, and you know, as a Batman fan, it was one I absolutely wanted, but you know, it was just, it's hard to kind of justify this one. It's not a key issue, and I guess that $200 was about the same price I paid for that Batman 442, so, you know, I'd kind of rather have the Batman 442 in the newsstand 9.8, but this, it was so tempting as a Batman fan. Yeah, the official motion picture in the normal edition, that's really tough to find for $200, I think. That's pretty much a price target to aim for if you wanted that one in a 9.8. Next one is a Voltron number 1 from 1985. This is pretty cool. I think, you know, a lot of people think it's almost like a knockoff of Transformers, but Voltron definitely has its own cult of following, that's for sure. There's some big Voltron fans out there, for sure. Saw one sell for $409.99 in a 9.8 white pages. That's actually a pretty solid deal. If you go back a little bit more, seeing a lot sell for $449.99. So $450, if you get a little closer to $400, I think that's a pretty screaming deal. On a Voltron number 1 in a 9.8 white pages. That's one to consider if you're a big Voltron fan, for sure. Saw an Infinity Gauntlet number 1 in a 9.8 in a direct edition sell for $315. Yeah, this one I noticed that it was almost pushing $400 on a few auctions, and that really surprised me. I didn't know that this one got that expensive. A little closer to $300 is kind of making a little bit more sense. Maybe this one cools down a little bit more. I know the George Perez signing is sort of going on right now, and people are thinking about George Perez a lot because he's having some health issues, I think, as well. But there's a lot of Infinity Gauntlet number 1s in a 9.8. Got a feeling that you could probably get that one for a little bit under $300 once it cools down a little bit. Next one's a cool modern, totally awesome Hulk number 22. First full appearance of Weapon H in an auction for $152.51 on this one. Great cover on this one. A bit underwhelming on the story. Like Weapon H is, he just kind of comes and goes on this one pretty much, but a decent intro, I guess. This is one I do have in a 9.8 as well. Kind of recommended it, I'm pretty sure, on under $100 type of 9.8s, but yeah, maybe it's added about $50 in the last little bit. $152.50, this one going for. You could probably aim for, you know, a little closer to 100 on that one. I'm not sure if it's not a tough 9.8. I don't know if that one's worth, you know, paying up much more than $100 for, to be honest. Okay, next one's a great 90s one that's under $100, super affordable. I've talked about this one off and on. A Ghost Rider number 15 with the glow-in-the-dark cover, selling for $71. That's a solid price target to aim for on that one if you're in the market for a Ghost Rider 15, that glow-in-the-dark cover. A Batman 442. So yeah, I'd picked up the newsstand version of this one recently. In a direct edition in an auction though. Color is a little bit faded on this one. Maybe didn't look, you know, primo, but $76 in an auction in a 9.8 white pages for Batman 442. Yeah, mentioning that was a really good affordable one to get in the direct edition. I paid $199.95 for my newsstand edition. in a 9.8. Next one, a cool one to see, a new one that's kind of one of these hidden gem variant covers that are quite popular. Wolverine #1 from 2020 with the Jim Lee hidden gem variant. Selling in a 9.8 for $361. Yeah, that's a pretty stiff price. Is kind of just my initial feeling. Maybe, you know, people are really liking this cover. Like, you know, Jim Lee Wolverine, you almost can't go wrong. But the eye appeal on this one looks a little off for some reason. But it was kind of surprising to see that one at $361. I think this one will, you know, maybe cool down a little bit, and you can get it kind of in the $250 area, I would say, if you're in the market for that Wolverine #1. Feels like a bit of an overpay, but we'll see how that one sells moving forward. Next one, a Fantastic Four 243 in a newsstand edition. I sort of dropped on the last video we talked about Fantastic Four 243 that there's a decent newsstand edition on eBay right now. It was like what was it? $450, $449.99. It ended up selling for. It was one of those auctions where the first bid was $449.99 and it got one bid. So, but you know what? Newsstand edition of Fantastic Four 243, a book that I think has a very positive future. You get this one in the newsstand edition for $449. If Galactus ever comes out in a Fantastic Four MCU movie, I see this one over $1,000 in a newsstand. So I think that's a very solid buy. Next one, you know, you don't see this one very often. I was really excited to see what this one would end at. And it didn't disappoint. A really high price on an Amazing Spider-Man 298 in a newsstand edition. You don't see the newsstand on an Amazing Spider-Man 298. I got this one in a direct edition 9.8. First Todd McFarlane Spider-Man art. You know, Todd McFarlane, he just drew Spider-Man so cool. Just brought Spider-Man into the modern age. So this is super collectible. One I definitely wanted in a 9.8. Got the direct edition. The newsstand selling for $5,000 even. $5,000 on an Amazing Spider-Man 298 newsstand edition. I think this is, you know, a bit of a taste of things to come in the next 5 to 10 years of some of these newsstand editions in a 9.8 getting, you know, some really big prices. They are kind of the more rare version. And, you know, if a 9.8 isn't just quite enough for you, you get the 9.8 newsstand, and, you know, it's a really great combo. And I think the prices are heading up on a newsstand editions, and $5,000 even for an Amazing Spider-Man 298 newsstand, 9.8 white pages. Next is an Incredible Hulk 449. First appearance of the Thunderbolts. A cool 1990s Incredible Hulk key to consider. I sort of considered this one when it was a little bit lower price. Now, I don't know if I'd get in there at this price. You know, maybe if you're the biggest Thunderbolts fan, but for me, I'm not really the biggest Thunderbolts fan. I just kind of like this cover, and it's a cool 90s cover. $577.89. You know, when this one was like $300, you know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, it was a little bit tempting, but feels a little bit expensive for me now. You know, maybe if Thunderbolts comes out in some movie or show, then I'll be proven wrong, but one selling for $577.89 on Incredible Hulk 449. A Captain America 25 in a 9.8. This is one I'm kind of keeping an eye on as just a great cooling down one. Like, certainly it was like $250 to $300, maybe even a little bit over $300 leading up to the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. Seeing one sell, $155.37. Yeah, that is a price target to aim for, pretty much. I saw, like, they're kind of bouncing around lately. I saw one sell for like $255 in the last month. That just really surprised me. Like, I don't know why someone would get in there and pay like a hot price for one that's really cooling down. But another one had sold for $150, and now this one's selling for $155.37. I think if you want this one, right around $150 is looking like a really solid value. That's pretty much down 50% from where it was leading into Falcon Winter Soldier. Here's kind of a cool modern that might be worth a spec. Yeah, kind of making sense. I haven't read this one or anything, but a cool cover. It's a A-Force #1 from 2015, selling for $89.09 in an auction. So pretty, you know, under $100 price. I do like this cover. You got She-Hulk on the front on the cover. This A-Force looks like it's kind of like an all-female kind of superhero team. And, you know, these movies are absolutely, you know, pushing diversity and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, this is a bit of a spec, but I could see the spec kind of working out with they're going to be introducing She-Hulk. Maybe they bring in the A-Force, you know, in the next 5 or 10 years or something like that. But kind of making sense as a speculation. And yeah, it's first appearance of Singularity, which I haven't read this one, so I don't even know who that is, but get a first appearance in there. Under $100, yeah, A-Force #1, cool cover, $89.09, probably a decent spec there. Next one is a cool one that I think, you know, you can consider right now, even though it's heated up a little bit with these Across the Spider-Verse movies. A SpiderGwen #1. First, basically kind of solo titled SpiderGwen book, selling for $212.50 in a 9.8. Yeah, this one probably still has a little bit of room to kind of heat up getting into these two Across the Spider-Verse movies. Cool cover as well. Yeah, SpiderGwen #1, and you know, a year or two ago was a really great one to kind of buy right around $100. Now they're right around 200, but you know, I could still see you know, this one trending up leading into these movies for sure. And it is kind of a really cool collectible cover if you're a Spider-Gwen fan, for sure. Next one is absolutely cooling down, and you know, it's one to consider now. Although you know, I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I haven't read this one either. It's War of the Realms: New Agents of Atlas #1. Selling in a 9.8 for $142.51. And this is one like a year or two ago. There were quite a few people speculating on this. I don't know where they heard the rumors or what happened, but this one was like $250, $300 even, I think, on a couple auctions there for a minute. Now really cooling down. If you like this one, $142.51, under $150. Just so much better than getting in there like a year and a half ago when that one was hot. So I think that's a price target to aim for. $142.51 on a New Agents of Atlas #1. Okay, last one on the list. I saw an Ultimate Fallout #4 in a 9.8 on eBay in the first print, sell for $3,300. So I mentioned, you know, in recent videos they've been selling about $3,500. I think you can wait for a bit of a cool down here. Maybe it's already starting to cool down a little bit. $3,300. I think, you know, maybe like 3,100, right around 3,000 is probably going to be doable in the next 6 months. You know, just cooling down a little bit before the Across the Spider-Verse hype really starts to ratchet up. But, you know, Ultimate Fallout 4, it is a no-brainer. It's 1-to-1. It's just so hot. It's kind of hard to get a deal. It's really expensive, but absolutely kind of the modern comic book to invest in, pretty much. First appearance of Miles Morales, Spider-Man. All right, team, getting a solid list of keys and prices there. Yeah, I think everything's kind of really hanging in there, I would say. You know, some kind of moderns that were hot are cooling down. Like the ones that are cooling down, I find like it makes sense that they're cooling down, whereas you know, just the solid no-brainer key issues like an Amazing Spider-Man 238 or a Batman Adventures Mad Love are actually seem to be, you know, sort of bouncing up off of the kind of recent pullbacks from those sort of virus era highs, I guess you could say. Yeah, so overall, a pretty healthy 9.8 market. Yeah, definitely, you know, not any signs of like, you know, huge keys plummeting in value or anything like that if you're on the lookout for a 9.8 market crash or something like that. All right, team, we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. If you're liking my content, please subscribe and hit that bell, and I'll keep you updated on future videos.